The Liberty are heating up.
The New York Liberty, they continue to make moves to bolster their roster as they prepare to defend their WNBA title. On Sunday, the team announced that they acquired veteran guard Natasha Cloud from the Connecticut Sun in exchange for the 7th overall pick in this year's draft and New York's 2026 first-round pick. So let's talk about the deal. We're going to do it with a women's basketball contributor for ESPN, the great Maria Marino. Joins me now here on New York Got Game. Maria, how are you doing? Offseason news, it never stops. It continues for us here. How's it going?
You got a 2-for-1 Maria deal because we were expecting to talk about Women's March Madness just after the bracket reveal. We get a little WNBA off-season news as well. So excited about the Liberty continuing to make moves.
I am excited about it. We got to talk about it. So, Maria, I got to say this because my colleague, women's sports reporter for the New York Post, Madeline Kenny, she reported a few weeks ago that the Liberty were trying to get Natasha Cloud for the 7th pick in this year's draft, which Liberty owned. They ended up giving up that pick and next year's first rounder for Cloud. Was that a steep price to pay for the 33-year-old guard?
I mean, it's pretty steep just because the talent that we see coming out of women's college basketball is definitely at an all-time high. But at the same time, I don't mind it because this just shows that the Liberty are in win now mode. And if they think that Natasha Cloud is a piece that can help them defend their title, which I believe she is, they're willing to part with the pick. It's not like it was the top pick in the draft or top 3 or top 5 even. And then, you assume that the Liberty being contenders again this year, it's not like, that pick necessarily is like you're giving up something super crazy. It's an unproven asset, obviously. So to me, I don't mind it, like I said, because it's win now for the Liberty.
Yeah, it's win now. You don't know if you'd have got somebody with the 7th pick that would help you as much immediately as Natasha Cloud could this year. How does this acquisition, Maria, of Natasha Cloud help a Liberty team who lost Courtney Vandersloot in free agency? How does her being on this Liberty roster, how can she help them?
Well, I think this helps the Liberty in a number of ways, even more so than Courtney Vandersloot, who had changed her role a bit, especially going into the postseason last year. She was coming off the bench, and I do think that there were some questions about her defensively. More so to me, this helps fill the void left by Kayla Thornton, who was a really great defender for the Liberty, and Natasha Cloud is known for her defense. Also, I do think this gives them some flexibility, given that we learned that Benajelani Hamilton was injured a few weeks ago at Unrivaled. We don't have a lot of details on that injury, but it gives the Liberty a bit of an insurance policy for a player in Lainey Hamilton who had to miss some time last season, had a knee cleanup procedure, was able, thankfully, to help the Liberty in the finals, but still just to have some extra depth. And you have to remember too that we have Leonie Febish back. She was the rookie sensation from a year ago who just changed everything for the Liberty. But again, if Lainey Hamilton's not 100%, I could see Leo sort of staying in that starting lineup. And then what about Marine Johannes? The Liberty still own her rights. She's expected to make a return, and she's the French national team star who really helped the Liberty, not last season because of the Olympics, but the season prior. So I'm seeing a lot more options in this backcourt for the Liberty.
Yeah, a lot of options, a lot of good backcourt depth. Great point there about Benajelani Hamilton. If she's not ready to go for the start of the season, you have Natasha Cloud who can help on the perimeter with defense. So the Liberty have an embarrassment of riches now at the guard and wing positions there, so should bode well for them. Now, there was some thought, Maria, that I've heard this from people would come up and talk to me about this around the Liberty. The Liberty, they had a quiet offseason. But this move right here to get Natasha Cloud, it's a major move to bring her in. What do you make of what New York has done this offseason, and do you like their chances to repeat as champs in 2025?
Well, you notice that probably the two teams that had the quote unquote quietest off seasons were the two teams that were in the finals last year. Why? Because They like their team. They like their depth. They like their chemistry. I personally, a couple weeks ago, had on my sort of power rankings, if you will, I actually really liked Minnesota because the Liberty lost Kayla Thornton. But now that the Liberty bring in Natasha Cloud, who I just think that Cloud sort of embodies a lot of things that the New York front office values, right? Like I said, she is a great defender. She's a high IQ player. She can find her teammates. She's incredibly intense. I think back to not last year, but the year before when she was still on Washington and they were playing at Barclays Center, and she was phenomenal. I think she will be thriving in the New York market. I just think that she's that type of player. And so I think the Liberty feel really, really good about adding her. And I do think that it adds a whole nother another whole dimension to this Liberty squad. So now I think I have New York on my I'm flip-flopping my power rankings now. I think I like New York's chances of taking home the title with this addition, although I do still feel that Minnesota is going to be incredibly motivated and they have somebody who I think is majorly motivated and is also showing she's one of, if not the best player, out there, and that's Nafisa Collier. So it's going to be hard to repeat. Um, Vegas, when they repeated, that was the first time in like 20 years that
Yep.
that the W had a repeat champion. So it's hard to do, but I do think that this move helps ensure that the Liberty have the best chance of that happening.
Yep, it sure should help that. It's going to be exciting. W season is coming sooner than we realize. So much to talk about with the Liberty, but news breaking on Sunday that the Liberty acquired Natasha Cloud, a huge addition to their roster. That is Maria Marino. Check her out as a contributor to ESPN with women's basketball. Maria, appreciate you joining me for the second week in a row on New York Got Game. That doesn't happen too often. You are in rarefied air with that, but we appreciate you coming through. Thank you.
I mean, I got to talk Knicks with you. I got to talk March Madness and Liberty. Come on, like this couldn't be better. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Maria. Thank you.